Mere Conservatism.
And I'm so happy for you. It's a boy.
Yeah, we're very excited. I have 2 girls already.
Yeah.
And we got a boy on the way. We found out yesterday that he is in fact a boy.
Wow.
So we're very, very happy.
Oh, man, I am so happy for you guys. You look so great in the reveal video. And again, congratulations to you guys. And I bring it up for another reason, David. And by the way, this is Mere Conservatism, and that's David Perry, celebrating the announcement of the reveal of the gender of his son. Mm-hmm. And I'm Cleve Walker. I have 3 very grown daughters and some grandkids, so I'm in a different stage of life than you. But I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
3 daughters. I was hoping for a son. After 3, I said it's not going to happen, so I'm glad.
You gave up, so yeah. You were telling me, Cleve was telling me leading up to the gender reveal, it's a girl. It's going to be a girl because he had 3 girls, and he thought that I was going to have 3 girls.
I just
but
knew
nope.
it. Yeah, nope. I'm happy I was wrong. I really am. Let's get to something important. And again, I was getting ready to say one of the reasons the issues that you and I are discussing are so very important, besides the fact there are convictions for ourselves and informed by our faith, but it is because of the next generation. It is because of our kids and families that we have to take a stand and be really willing to take action and confront what's happening in our day. So to me, this is just a reminder of why we do what we do.
Yeah, I think everybody, when they have kids, think about the world their kids are going to live in.
Right,
I'm sure
right.
you did.
Yeah.
And I certainly think about that quite a bit, the world that they're exposed to and the world that they're going to grow up in and live in. I think about it a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I want it to be a world that gives them the opportunity to be free, make choices, and do what they want to do with their life. To be able to worship God and serve Him in the way that God has called them to do. Government does have a role when it comes to that.
Certainly does. And we never said it didn't. We're not those who's saying there should be no government.
And the role government has is to stay out of the way.
Yeah, that's the best thing they can do. A very limited role. They should be there. We're not talking about anarchy, but they should definitely have a limited role, particularly not a strong centralized role in everything that happens. So, again, for our kids, I'm in agreement with you. I just want them to have the rights of the Constitution that we've been able to enjoy and use to express our values and whatnot. So,
yeah, right now we got a government that the executive branch, the president, has way too much power. And really, it's not even just the president, it's the executive branch, meaning it's the bureaucracy that comes along with the executive branch has been granted way too much power over the years by Congress. And also, the president has taken a lot of that control over the years. I'm not talking about our current president.
No, I understand that, particularly
I'm talking about presidents for the last 100 years.
Sure. I understand.
And accelerated greatly under Obama. That's a problem.
It is.
I really think that maybe we should just not have a president for a while. just no. Have you seen the meme that said America needs to be alone for a little while and figure itself out? It doesn't need a president. And I kind of agree with that.
I don't know.
Nobody, 2020.
I think if Biden were to win, we wouldn't have a president for a while, okay? Because he's not there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Talk about being ruled by the bureaucracy.
Yeah,
that is Joe Biden in a nutshell because he's not there. He's the epitome of an empty suit. And the reason Democrats want him
is because of that reason.
Not because of him. It has nothing to do with him. It's because he's not there.
Yeah,
and it's because they can have agencies run everything.
He is a blank check
what they want
for them.
Because right now they have a president who is the boss. And he acts like somebody elected him to that office and he's got a job to do, and they hate that.
I differ with you on one thing. I agree that there's the balance, the check and balances that were intended in the Constitution are weighted way too much. But I tend to feel it's been way too much in the judiciary. I think the judicial branch is way too powerful, and it was never intended to have the power that it exercises now.
I agree with that too.
So that's why I say it's kind of out of balance. That's my opinion. Anyway, of course, the convention's going on, and I got to ask
you.
What?
Well, hang on. What? There's a convention going on?
Yeah. Well, by the time you hear this broadcast, it'll it'll be over with. Have you watched any of it, David?
No.
Okay.
I've listened to some sound bites. I've heard some
Yeah.
news clips where I will hear pieces of speeches and things like that. But come on, Cleve.
I couldn't bring myself to watch more than a few seconds of it. I'm serious. And I definitely could not watch Obama when he came up. I mean, I'm still trying to get over the 8 years I had to hear from him, when he was in office. So I wasn't going to volunteer.
How about the Michelle Obama speech? Did you love that?
I saw excerpts of that, and my goodness gracious.
That's hard to watch.
These people are so smarmy. But anyway, we got reactions from our side about what's going on at the convention. And, of course, it was all a hate fest. We knew it would be. U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, who is no personal friend of the president, but, a good Republican guy, and I think he'll run again for president himself. He was on Fox News' Mornings with Maria, and he said that Biden is just not strong enough for the challenges of the job of the presidency.
My reaction to it is it's going to be a close, hard-fought election. I think there's going to be a very clear choice. I personally do not believe that Joe Biden has the strength to confront the major challenges this country's facing, whether it's China, whether it's Iran, whether it's the need to rebalance our trade relationships and rebuild our economy and have an industrial capacity once again in this country that's stronger than what we have right now.
And I got to get your take on that. I mean,
well, he followed this up by drinking a bottle of water.
Stop it.
Every time he has a response to,
you will never,
he was so thirsty.
You will never let Rubio live that
parched.
But my point, the point he was saying, this guy is just too feeble. I mean, he literally is not up to the test of even if he were not a Democrat, if he were a Republican, this guy is just not up to the test of this office physically or mentally.
I think that one way to run against the Democrats right now is by pointing out that Joe Biden is not really going to be president. And some people are fine with that.
I was going to say.
Some people are okay with that, but
yeah.
those people are going to vote Democrat no matter what.
Right.
I think a legitimate question to ask during the campaign, if you're a Republican running against Joe Biden, is who is actually going to be holding the strings of power?
Yeah.
Who is it going to be? Because that could be a problem. I mean, you may vote for Joe Biden, but who is it that's actually going to be making decisions, setting policy, those kinds of things? It's not going to be Joe Biden.
Well, here's the thing, and I agree with you on this. I think we ought to make a point, the GOP, that you're literally going to be running against Kamala Harris, that she is the only one on that ticket. If they have any kind of purpose or agenda and ability to try to work it out, it would be her and not her supposed boss.
Yeah.
So I think Kamala is a very unattractive candidate. I think independents are scared to death because they recognize she is a progressive radical.
Yeah, well, and that's one way to run it. You can run against Kamala Harris, but even in a broader sense, Trump is running against big government.
Yeah,
he's running
against
I mean, we've used the term deep state. Mm-hmm. He's running against bureaucracies like, I don't know, the Alphabet Boys. Name the agency. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
You can run it that way and say, look, there's a bunch of people that you don't know their name. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they believe. You didn't elect them, but they are making decisions that affect you because there's nobody that is going to stop them. They are running things.
Yeah.
And that's another way to run the
I think
race.
it's a great way to run it because, again, it shows, it puts this mirage that there's a President Biden who's actually going to be a moderate and keep things kind of tamped down.
Yeah. He has said himself that he's a transitional candidate.
Yes.
So transition to what?
Yeah, well, we know what.
Yeah, we know what. It's transition to AOC.
You got
it.
A
lot of the stuff at the convention is showing that, believe it or not, there are some people that are getting on the Zoom meeting for the Democratic convention and saying things like, we need to destroy capitalism.
Right. I mean, this is a good point you're making. They're not televising.
They're literally saying that.
They're not televising those Zoom meetings, but they're saying that. So the kooks are there, and the Democrats recognize we cannot get these guys and gals on prime time, so we'll just have them in the Zoom thing. But Tucker, among others, is actually showing some of those Zoom things, and you were able to hear the weirdness that you're talking about on Fox News. So good for him. Anyway, of course, President Trump weighed in on.
Oh, he did? Yeah. I liked his all caps tweets and stuff recently. Like the one where he said, "He spied on my campaign and got caught." He tweeted it during Obama's speech. He said all kinds of things like that. No, I think the commentary is good. I actually have gotten used to that from our president, and I like it more than I used to. His live tweeting events.
Well, I think part of the reason is a lot of us are just now realizing that many of the things that sounded so bombastic and far-fetched by him, and that he was overreacting, that really it was true what they were doing. And so he was actually only reflecting what happened. Anyway, he said that as far as what President Obama said, because Obama accused him of not taking the job of the presidency seriously. That's what Obama meant in his statement. And Trump said, well, if Obama and Biden had actually done a good job, I wouldn't have been elected.
The reason I'm here is because of President Obama and Joe Biden. Because if they did a good job, I wouldn't be here. And probably if they did a good job, I wouldn't have even run. I would have been very happy. I enjoyed my previous life very much. But they did such a bad job that I stand before you as president.
And I thought about that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
He was literally elected partially because of the failed presidency of Obama and his VP.
It's hard not to see it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if people were satisfied with the Democratic president, you would think they'd vote for the next Democratic nominee, but they didn't do that.
I mean, if they had had a quote-unquote successful presidency that the people of this country approved of, Hillary would have been a shoo-in. But it was not the case. So he made a great point, and I give the Trumpster credit. He said, basically, you guys are the proof that this country wanted a different direction, because here I am.
Yeah. It's not a bad point.
I only hope that point can continue, because we talked about this earlier, as much as a year ago, that this is two radically different visions for our nation. Radical. Never. And I thought when Obama was president, that was radical. And it was some of the stuff he did. But what's up for grabs now, what the Democrats want to do, now that they have literally been co-opted by the loony wing of the Democrat Party, now that we know that the progressives and socialists are calling the shots.
They're pushing hard left.
Oh, my
And they're saying, hey, Bernie set up our agenda.
That's
what they're saying. They're saying Bernie is driving our agenda. He's we're working with AOC. She's up and coming.
Oh, my goodness.
This is the future.
Yeah.
This is the direction they want to go.
And we need to keep that forefront, that we're not running against moderates. I don't think there are any moderates left, to tell you the truth, in the Democrat Party, really. I think what Bernie had done originally was let the cat out of the bag, and they didn't want that happening. They all are socialists, but you're not supposed to say it. So when Bernie came out and said it, they needed to stop him long enough to get the votes of people who would not vote for it.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people love that message and want it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going for it. And that's a very strong movement. There's a lot of people that are very disenchanted with Joe Biden. A lot of leftists are very disenchanted with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They may not vote in this election for them.
That's my hope.
Although they're hoping, the Democrats are hoping that by bringing in Bernie, that they'll get some of those people, and they'll get some of them. They'll get a lot of them, but a lot of people. There are a lot of people, because guess what, Cleve? I hang out on lefty Twitter.
I do too.
Okay.
No, I do, and even on Facebook,
and I see the kinds of things they say. So they're mad. They're really mad about Joe Biden, and they're mad at Bernie Sanders for selling out.
But here's what they're doing: the Democrats are trying to tell the people you're talking about right now, hey, it's okay. We're not moderate. We just have to come across that way if we want to win this election. But you know that Kamala, whatever her name is, you know what she thinks.
Kamala.
Yeah. You know where she stands. So she's going to present herself as a pragmatic centrist, which she's actually been called that. And so, but that's only because we need the idiots who actually believe that. We need their votes. That's what it boils down to. But again, Trump and our side need to keep pushing that. These are radicals. And Kamala is one of the most radical. I think she's a terrible choice.
Well, I do too. I have a question for you, though, Cleve. There's a message coming out of the Democrats, maybe not as much during the convention, but I think it's been there a little bit. But you've heard it recently. It sounds a lot like blackmail. Sounds a lot like extortion.
Okay. By the way, I'm triggered by the word blackmail. I mean, why couldn't it be whitemail?
Cleve, so
go ahead.
it's whitemail.
Okay.
So here's what's happening. Basically, they're saying that the unrest in the streets will continue until Joe Biden is elected.
I heard
Joe
that.
Biden will solve it. With all the unrest in the streets, and in seats too, I'm sure. Joe Biden will solve that problem.
That's right.
The message is vote for Joe.
Yeah.
And it'll all be okay.
And if you don't vote for Joe, it's going to be worse.
It's a nice country you got there.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible if something happened to it.
They've even insinuated it's going to come into the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to leave the downtown areas of these metropolitan areas and make its way to even the rural areas. So you're right. It's
so
like
I wonder if that's going to work, first of all. Like, are people going to say, oh, I better vote for Joe because everything's so chaotic with Trump, let me vote for Joe. I think some people will think that way. Other people will push back and say, that's not right. I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to be threatened because I really think that that's the tone of it. But my question for you is, how does Trump respond to that? Because it would be good if Trump could do something, if the Republicans could do something about how they will solve the problem that's going on. Because I don't think, well, let me back up. I do think that the unrest will continue and maybe get worse if Trump gets reelected in November.
right.
And there should be some sort of plan or response to that. What do you think?
I think part of the response he's doing is already the correct response by continually tying these mayors, the Democratic mayors and governors, to these riotous hotspots, continually tying their administration to it, continually tying their policies of defunding the police. And then, of course, because Trump just got the big endorsement by the New York Police Union, continually doing that. I think that's the way to handle that. Because what the Democrats are hoping and what the media is doing, the Democrats' allies, are trying to paint this is instability caused by a Trump presidency. And what Trump has been saying, look at where it's happening. Look who's preventing their police from doing anything about it. Yeah. Look who's allowing your property to be destroyed and people to be beaten. I mean, you've seen the video of that guy who was
terrible.
Doesn't that just? Every time I've seen it a few times, the outrage.
Yeah, I put myself in his position and I thought to myself, what in the world would I do?
Yeah.
In a situation, well, luckily, I'm armed.
Right.
So that's one thing that I would do. But
my point
what do you
is,
do in that situation? It's tough.
It's given a picture that we can hang on this group that are being supported, aided, and abetted by the Democrat Party.
So you think that the message, and he's also been saying, governors, whatever you need.
Yes.
We'll bring in, troops, we'll bring in federal law enforcement, whatever you need, just let us know. He is saying that. Is that going to get through to people?
I think it is. It won't get through to those who hate Trump no matter what. But I think any ordinary person, and I'm hearing this, not from Republicans, okay, but from people who are, especially from those swing states, who simply have had enough saying of the fallout from the Democrat policies. They're saying I can't do that anymore. I mean, the untold story that the media doesn't want people to hear is that people are fleeing these areas. They're leaving. New York even. Businesses especially are changing plans about being there. And some businesses are there saying, we're not coming back. So
long-lasting problems in those areas are exacerbated when people leave.
And we got to tie them to that, though, this flight.
That's true, because if people think that Joe Biden can solve it, then they may still vote for Joe Biden if they don't connect him to the Democratic Party and see that that's the party that is making this stuff possible.
Not one time during the convention have the Democrats denounced in any strong, emphatic way what's happening in those cities.
They won't.
Yeah, and
the only way that they do it is they pin it on Trump, and they say that it's bad.
I've been really wanting to get your opinion on this, David. President Trump urging Americans against purchasing Goodyear tires over the reported employee ban on wearing MAGA hats and politically affiliated slogans. And, anyway, Trump just basically calling for a boycott of Goodyear because they are banning things like Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, MAGA attire, while saying the other stuff is okay. And they're saying the company has said that's not corporate policy. in their most latest statements. But still, we have the evidence that is being practiced. Kayleigh McEnany, I'll never get her name right either, said one reason the president is doing this is because he wants to show that he will never back down from his support of the police.
This president will never apologize for standing with law enforcement. He won't. He thinks it's unacceptable. If you can wear a Black Lives Matter hat, guess what? You should be able to wear a Blue Lives Matter one too, particularly when our police officers are targeted.
But what say you?
This is what I think. First of all, is it Goodyear policy? That needs to be explained.
I like that.
What is this that we saw? Because we saw an image, said Goodyear on it, and it definitely had certain things that were okay and certain things that weren't. What is that? That needs to be explained and uncovered. If that's not Goodyear's policy, well, then all this is about nothing. If it is Goodyear's policy, it's obviously completely inappropriate for them to favor certain political messages. Black Lives Matter is a political message. They're favoring that one over Blue Lives Matter.
All lives matter.
Look, I wouldn't say I don't get into that stuff, all right? Because but they shouldn't do that. That's obviously inappropriate.
Got to be consistent if you're going to do something. Yeah.
So that's wrong. Guess what else is inappropriate?
What?
The president leading a boycott.
Okay. All right.
There is no excuse for the president saying that we should boycott a company. That's not okay.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
I don't think that that's a good thing to do.
When I heard him say that, I said, you don't have to. First of all, he doesn't have to do that. I think if he can make his feelings known and his displeasure known, and it would, I think, actually have the effect of a boycott, but without him calling for it.
Right. You can say, this is not right.
Yeah.
Look at what Goodyear is doing. This is wrong. Yeah. You cannot. Goodyear should not be favoring certain types of political speech. The president could say that. Yeah. The president should never say boycott Goodyear or any other company.
Yeah.
It's just not a good idea. It's not appropriate. He shouldn't have done it.
And even though he's not doing anything official, in other words, he's not saying, I'm going to write an executive order to say that we're going to take action against Goodyear.
He shouldn't do that.
The power, the bully pulpit of the presidency, to me, there are too many more important things that you need to use that for than attacking an American company.
Yeah, and one of the reasons you shouldn't do it is because of something that you just mentioned, Cleve. He doesn't have to.
Right.
All he has to do is say that that's not cool.
Yeah,
that's
wrong.
All he has to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to. Anyway, that's Trump, though. I mean, he just does.
He was genuinely angry.
Yeah, well, and I would be too.
Yeah,
I would be genuinely angry too, because that's actually a personal attack on him. Mm. If it's what it looks like it is, which again we need to know what it really is.
And it's an attack on employees who want to have the same rights that other employees have who want to carry a different message. If you're going to allow that to be on their attire, it is not consistent. No.
You know what I would do probably if I was President Trump? That happened. I'd call the CEO of Goodyear. You're the president. You can get somebody on the phone. Okay,
probably
call them and say, "Hey, I just want to know from you." Is this what you guys are? I mean, is this your policy? Are you banning MAGA?
Yeah.
And banning Blue Lives Matter? MAGA is one thing. Blue Lives Matter? Okay, are you banning that, but you're okay with BLM and transgender?
Is this official policy for your company?
Yeah, LGBT, LMNOP stuff, is all that okay? But is that real? Is this true? And talk to somebody about it and find out. I think that he should have done. That's what I would have done. Find out from the CEO and then tell the CEO, this is out. You should probably correct that if that's not your policy. And if it is your policy, I just want you to know that I am going to publicly say that that's not good and that you guys shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, not calling for a boycott.
No.
Again, he has a right to his opinion, but the president is not a private citizen. And again, the bully pulpit of the presidency, for me, there's too many other things you need to be doing with that, and then calling for a boycott. Yeah. It's an American company too. That's my point. And there are workers there who will be hurt by it, who are not guilty of anything other than working for a crazy company. So anyway, I'm glad you said that. You really set my mind at ease. Real quickly, the investigation into alleged FBI wrongdoing during the 2016 presidential election finally had a breakthrough with that former FBI lawyer who had to plead guilty in federal court to making false statements in the first criminal case stemming from U.S. Attorney John Durham's Russia probe. U.S. Representative Doug Collins was on Mornings with Maria on Fox News, and he said that the indictment is a sign of more to come, and that's why the people involved in it are running scared and making some pretty outrageous statements right now.
It's just the first, what I believe, of more to come. And I think that's what's scaring, though, the folks who are being investigated, the cabal of Comey and McCabe and Strzok, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and these folks and Brennan and Clapper, because they know that this is actually getting investigated because they never thought it was going to be. So the first step is in now done. I think we now need to continue to move on, and I'm looking forward, hopefully, to more indictments from Durham investigation.
David, are we going to see finally some type of justice with this coup, which is what I call it, an effort to overturn the presidency?
I'm still going to say no until we actually get it.
Okay.
But I do think that it's amazing, and it's good that this guy is on the hot seat. I'm glad he pled guilty, and we're starting to get some answers. But what's funny is that it doesn't matter to a lot of Democrats. They're still saying that Trump is a Russian agent.
Yeah.
They're literally still on that train. It's
Forget
amazing.
the Democrats. You're not going to convince them no matter what, because they think they're justified in lying.
They
okay?
love conspiracy theories.
But
that's what's it's so funny too. They complain about conspiracy theories like QAnon,
right?
Whatever that is. You and I were talking about this a little while ago. We're not really well versed on QAnon, but it's apparently some conspiracy theory thing. And Democrats are up in arms about things like that, but they'll hang on to conspiracy theories like the Russia thing forever. Hey, they probably even think birds are real. Cleve, did you know that birds aren't real? That birds are actually government spy drones.
Okay.
The government uses them to surveil us. And can you believe there are some people that actually believe that birds are real?
Yeah.
That cracks me up. I bet the same people that think birds are real also think that that Trump is a Russian agent.
On that note, I just have hope that this is going to come to light, and at least Comey and maybe even Brennan will have a bad time as a result of the actions they took part in this
I hope so. Don't forget, Cleve, birds aren't real.
Birds aren't real. But David is real. I'm real. Cleve Walker, David Perry, and Mere Conservatism is real, and they can hear this again.
Check out iTunes. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment as well.
And follow the Mere Conservatism Facebook page. We love your comments there as well.
You can also find me on Lefty Twitter, Mere Conservatism Twitter handle. I'll be perusing Lefty Twitter, so check it out.
We're looking forward to looking at the Republican convention and giving some insight on that as well. In the meantime, you have a fantastic day.